Hello and welcome back inside Regency Furniture Stadium. Andrew Banster alongside my broadcast partner, Stevie Bowen, as we take you into tonight's contest. A couple of days off, but your Southern Maryland Blue Crabs are right back here at Regency Furniture Stadium, ready to get things going right here on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network, live from the Bayonet Press Box. Southern Maryland Blue Crabs taking on the Lancaster Barnstormers in the first game of a twin bill. They will play 3 times throughout the next 24 hours. Southern Maryland hosting Lancaster right here at 5. Another game to follow. And the series finale will come tomorrow at 2:05. So here are at 5:08. There is a somewhat of a chance that in 24 hours we'll have been done by now. Mike Devine on the mound for your Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. Get you the starting lineups after this first pitch, which is on its way to Alejandro De Aza. De Aza watches, batting second, the right fielder, number 15, Caleb Gindel. Batting third, the first baseman, number 2, Blake Galen. In the cleanup spot, the left fielder, number 21, Trayvon Robinson. In the 5 spot, the second baseman, number 3, Melvin Mercedes. Batting 6th, the designated hitter, number 1, Ladarius Clark. Batting 7th, the third baseman, number 6, Blake Alamond. Batting 8th, the catcher, number 32, and Atlantic League veteran, Alejandro De Rosa. And batting 9th, the shortstop, number 7, Clay Luis Rondon. On the mound for the Lancaster Barnstormers, it's a left-hander, number 24, Tommy Shirley, a former Blue Crab. Mike Devine on the mound for the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs as he continues to face off against Alejandro De Aza. Starting lineup for the Blue Crabs, leading off the left fielder, number 11, Jake Lucci. Batting second, the second baseman, number 12, Michael Baca. Batting third, the first baseman, number 9, Dario Pisano. In the cleanup spot, the right fielder, number 14, David Harris. Batting fifth, the third baseman, number 7, Josh McAdams. Batting sixth, the catcher, number 17, Joe DeLuca. Batting seventh, the center fielder, number 8, Zach Collier. Batting eighth, the shortstop, number 6, Kent Blackstone. And batting ninth, the designated hitter, number 3, Jordan Scott. So, Stevie, it is needless to say that Stan Clyburn has significantly adjusted his lineup as the first at-bat of the game, make that the first plate appearance of the game, will go in favor of the Barnstormers, as Alejandro De Aza, an MLB veteran, walks to lead us off.
You said it earlier, Andrew. Blue Crabs currently on a 4-game losing streak. A good move by Stan Clyburn, in my opinion. It's time to switch something up. As you can see, Kent Blackstone moves towards the bottom of the lineup. Jake Lucci, Michael Baca, who are normally towards the bottom, are now leading off in the 1-2 spot. And you just got to wait and see how it works out for him.
First pitch from Mike Devine to the second hitter of the Barnstormers lineup. The right fielder, number 15, Caleb Gindel, is in there for a strike. Gindel, another Atlantic League veteran. He follows Alejandro De Aza, again, a long-time MLB veteran. Hard hit right back up the middle past Mike Devine and the shortstop, Kent Blackstone. And that's another little adjustment that might have been easy to miss, but Blackstone moves back to short, Baca to second. It's the first time those two have played together in the middle infield when Blackstone's been at short and Baca at second.
As we know, Blackstone started off the season at shortstop. Baca came in. We saw him a little shaky his first couple games in there. Had a few errors, but I'd like to see how it is now with him in the 2 spot.
That brings up Blake Galen. Galen, we talked about him actually the other night on the broadcast. He is an outfielder, wears number 2, 5'8", 175 pounds. He was a long-time Barnstormer, but before being picked up by affiliated ball again last year, was in AAA with Oklahoma City. Devine, on the other hand, a career independent league pitcher, but he has been absolutely dominant over the last couple of years. Struggling out of the gates this year, but a guy that's proven himself to be effective year over year, so we're expecting that peak performance to make its way back as the count works its way to 2 balls and no strikes. Go through a couple of Devine's numbers here in a moment. First, the pitch to Galen. Two-seamer off the outer edge in there for strike number one. The numbers for Mike Devine on the year, he's 0-2 on the young campaign, an ERA in the double digits, make that near the double digits, but again, not a guy, if you're Southern Maryland, you're all that concerned about continuing in that direction, as he has been fantastic over the course of his career. You know, it's a rare sight that you see a independent leaguer make a real career, along the course of a decade, and just dominating time and time again, and staying in the independent ranks as a slider makes its way back into the strike zone. What a pitch from Devine, especially after allowing the first two on.
He's really locked in now after those first two batters. Beautiful backdoor slider. Stayed right on the outer half of that strike zone. Galen was not expecting that one to be called a strike. A little delay from the robot umpire, but punch out was called.
That brings up the cleanup hitter, the left fielder number 21, Trayvon Robinson. Yet another longtime Lancaster Barnstormer. The left-handed hitting Robinson sees a cutter miss the outside edge, and it looks like Mike Devine, a guy with a lot of movement on most of his pitches, is still kind of trying to feel out what these robotic umpires will give him on the corners. Right on left matchup, Devine coming home with a pitch. What a beautiful sinker right over the top of the bat of Trayvon Robinson as the count equals at a ball and a strike.
Yeah, right there was a beautiful pitch. Robinson just not able to make contact on it, swung right through.
Devine, a long break before the 1-1. Another two-seamer that misses off the edge. You know, the movement on Devine's pitches, this is our first time seeing him in person this year at a Blue Crabs game. And, you know, the movement is just tremendous on his pitches. A guy that most likely is not going to see a positive impact solely by the robotic umpires, right? Those are pitches that are generally deceptive to both batters and human umpires, but of course a robotic umpire has no sense of whether it's moving or not. It just calls it as it is.
It just knows where it crosses.
The numbers for Devine on the season, again, 0-2 with an 8.76 ERA. His last time out, he pitched very deep into the ball game, but had some early struggles. Showed his manager Stan Clyburn and his pitching coach Darryl Thompson that he's able to work through those struggles, but nonetheless, it was not the start he was looking for, but was able to prove himself to be a reliable starter, as after he lets off back-to-back runners to reach base, back-to-back strikeouts from Mike Devine. That was a theme in his last time out. The right-hander was tremendous, found himself at his last time out 7 1/3 innings, striking out 12 in the start. He also in that start allowed 8 earned runs.
And let up just one walk throughout that game as well.
Has already allowed a walk and a base hit in this inning, but responded with 2 beautiful strikeouts, and that brings up the second baseman, number 3, Melvin Mercedes. Strike on the outside corner. We mentioned Mercedes. He's been seeing the ball tremendously this year. Leads the Lancaster Barnstormers in batting average at .429. Mercedes dips into his batting stance, fouls one back into the screen, and the count now 0-2. What a rebound we've seen from Mike Devine here in this first inning. I was speaking with the voice of the Barnstormers, Dave Collins, before this game. He was telling me that Melvin Mercedes has been on an absolute tear of late. See if Devine's able to try to corral that dangerous run that Melvin Mercedes has been on of late. Mercedes, an MLB veteran, and next time he gets up, I've got a pretty interesting story for you. I'll save it for later, but I'm telling you what, Stevie, you are going to be shocked.
Don't worry, I'm ready for it.
Chopper to the right side. Pisano will get it himself, steps on first. And how about Mike Devine walking the leadoff man, Alejandro De Aza, then allowing a single. How about back-to-back strikeouts and a ground out to put us through half an inning of baseball? Don't go anywhere. We've got 13 and a half more innings to go on the day. A doubleheader. We're in the top end of a twin bill here on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
This is Dario Pisano, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Welcome back inside Regency Furniture Stadium. Andrew Bandstra alongside Stevie Bowen as we take you into the bottom of the first inning. First time Southern Maryland has seen the offensive side of the ball, or for that matter, the defensive side of the ball here in a couple of days. Back-to-back rainouts on both Thursday and Friday moved the finale between the York Revolution and the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs all the way back to June 25th. Of course, yesterday's postponed game moved into a doubleheader today. We mentioned Southern Maryland could have used a reset button. Hopefully they'll be able to use that to their advantage going forward. Additionally, Stan Clyburn jumbling around the lineup a good amount, which is something that he generally does not do a whole lot of. He likes the continuity in the lineup. But right now he's going to make a pretty significant change, putting Jake Lucci and Michael Baca at the top of the order, two individuals that had not batted any higher than the 4 spot to this point in the season. First pitch, a called strike from the former Blue Crab Tommy Shirley, facing off against number 11 Jake Lucci. Fastball slapped to the left side, and that was one of the saddest parts about having a game on Thursday postponed, Stevie, was that we were unable to become the Blue Cheeses for our first Wing Wars.
Very upset we were not able to unveil the Blue Cheeses jerseys, but they will be back.
Lucci awaiting the 0-2 pitch from Shirley. It's a fastball well upstairs, and Shirley's a guy that's bounced around the Atlantic League quite a bit over the course of his career. He was here with the Blue Crabs in 2018. Originally a 9th-round draft pick by the Houston Astros in 2010. Left-handed pitcher on his way with his 1-2 well outside. 2-2 the count. Pretty good velocity, particularly for a starting pitcher. Was in affiliated baseball all the way until 2016. Joined the Atlantic League in the independent ranks in 2017 as a member of the Lancaster Barnstormers before coming to Southern Maryland in 2018. Lucci fighting to stay alive in this at-bat. Southern Maryland would, in fact, trade Shirley back to the Barnstormers that season. And now here he is again in 2021 with Lancaster. He played in the Canadian American Association in 2019, did Shirley. Left-on-left matchup ensues. The 2-2 once more hit well into the crowd. It bounces off the chest of a fan, but they took that like a champ, Stevie. And
holy cow, yeah, I was fully expecting an ambulance needed to come to the stadium at the moment. I'm very happy they were able to just take that ball right off the chest.
As if it never happened.
As if it didn't happen. It reminds me of that, I believe it's a Joe West video, where he's the first base umpire. He has a line drive, just hit him off the chest, and all he does is just flexes back at the person that hit it.
So a happily anticlimactic ending to a 2-2 pitch. Another 2-2 offering up the middle. Lucci's going to try to leg this one out, but a nice play from the shortstop, Rondon, sets the first blue crab of the day down.
And not a bad at-bat from Lucci to start off the game. Able to stay alive with a couple foul balls to really try to up that pitch count of Tommy Shirley early on.
That gives way to Michael Baca, as it looks like now Pinch is getting some resuscitation on the third base dugout.
Does Ron Lord have his medical license?
I don't know that he does, but I think inside Regency Furniture Stadium, he's legally allowed to do almost just basically whatever he'd like, because
I think
that's his whole job title.
That sounds pretty fair. I think that's accurate.
Of course, Ron Lord, the on-field host for the Blue Crabs. As Michael Baca steps in, it's Baca's first time this season batting in the 2-hole. And he'll watch strike one on the outside corner as the count evens. Shirley is not somebody who works particularly fast, and Southern Maryland trying to kind of wear him out a little bit. Not too hot of a day, but anytime you can leave the starting pitcher on the mound longer than he'd like to be is a good thing for an offense. Baca fights this one foul to the right side near the kids' park. And the count 1-2 strikes. Baca, who has been seeing the ball awfully well to this point in the season, of course in limited time, was just signed about a week ago. Hitting upwards of .350 in 5 games played. A check down to the first base umpire. Yes, he did go. And that'll put 2 away here in the bottom of the first.
Something we've seen more of this game, though, is the Blue Crabs making more contact on pitches. So a lot of times we saw against the York Revolution just swinging completely on top of the ball and not making good contact. And as we saw, Jake Lukaci and Michael Baca able to foul a couple balls off there and hopefully string a couple hits together.
2-way gives way to Dario Pisano, the former Seattle Mariners prospect, who hit .280 in nearly 800 games of affiliated baseball. Steps in and sees ball number 1 from Tommy Shirley. On deck, should we need it, is David Harris with Josh McAdams in the hole. Again, Stan Clyburn jumbling around the lineup, trying to find that sweet spot. Left-on-left matchup. Hard hit down the left field line, and we've talked about it a couple times this year. Doesn't appear as though the Southern Maryland bullpen is going to stay with the trend of years past, and that they generally did not move when a foul ball was hit their way. Stevie, I got to say, probably the wise decision to move.
Definitely the wiser decision to get out of the way of the ball coming to you. But, man, that's one of my favorite traditions. Just watching a bunch of guys sit still while the ball is coming out, and just makes me laugh.
It's true. That's something that we had seen for years and years here. It was a pretty odd tradition, I must say. But barring injury, was an entertaining tradition. Nobody ever was injured during that tradition, and probably a good thing that we stopped before we got to that point, if we're being completely honest, as Pisano swings over a pitch, 2-2 the count. Pisano been seeing the ball pretty well to this point in the young season. The first baseman / outfielder who's found himself at first base when he's been in the field this season. Hitting .279 on the young campaign as he takes ball 3 on the outer edge. So a full count and a lot of pitches thrown in this first inning for Tommy Shirley. Certainly not the game plan that he went out there with. So Southern Maryland, while has not gotten anybody on base, of course it's always a good thing to work the count of the starter, especially with the Lancaster team that we'll get into it in a moment, but they've used a lot of arms lately as Pisano forces a walk on a 3-2 count. This is a Lancaster Barnstormers team, Stevie, that is averaging in their games to this point in the season 26 walks per game, and that's not just their pitching staff, but both sides.
Okay.
So still, that means their pitching staff on average is throwing 13 walks a game. Additionally, on the season as a whole, they find themselves walking 8.5 batters a game while allowing 8.5 earned runs per game. They've had to have a couple position guys throw. They had I believe a half dozen pitchers purchased by the MLB right before the season started.
So they're just running low on pitching at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, and that's one of the struggles you see when you're one of these Atlantic League teams. You know, people get their contracts bought out all the time, and then you're stuck with one less player. You know, it just stinks that it happened to happen multiple times to this team.
You know, the voice of the Barnstormers was talking to me right before this, and he was telling me that Blake Galen, the longtime Lancaster Barnstormers that's certainly not a pitcher, got a save this season. And in addition to that, in the same game, one of their relievers hit a home run. So things have been a little bit nuts this year.
That's awesome.
They're 6-7 on the year. Southern Maryland finds themselves 3-9. The Barnstormers came out hot, got a 6-4 start to the season before losing their last 3. David Harris at the plate, left on right matchup. Shirley on his way with the 1-2. Fastball upstairs. He's struggling to find his rhythm to this point.
He's done a nice job getting through the first 2 batters, and for the most part, he's getting the other Blue Crabs batters to get to 2 strikes, but he just can't secure those last ones.
Josh McAdams awaits on deck. A long look over to first from Shirley. The 2-2 right back at us in the Baynet press box, and we'll stay at 2 balls and 2 strikes. You know, David Harris was always going to be somebody that was going to be interesting to see how they performed at the Atlantic League level. He had played in leagues like the Frontier League, which is generally considered the third best ranks in independent baseball behind the American Association and, of course, here in the Atlantic League. But after hitting over 360 and winning a league MVP there, see how he can do in the Atlantic League is a beautiful play. Stops him from what could have been a base hit. Nice play at short by Rondone. Puts us into the top of the second right here on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
This is Jay Clucci, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Dyson Building Center is one of the oldest family-owned and operated hardware, lumber, and building supply stores in Southern Maryland. They are located in St. Mary's County on Route 5 in Great Mills. Dyson's has an expansive and diverse inventory to help you with all of your home improvement and project needs. Whether you're new to the world of DIY, a tried and true DIY professional, or somewhere in between, the friendly and experienced staff at Dyson Building Center is ready and willing to help you today. In February of 2020, Regency Furniture Stadium and the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs were given what we view as an honor, being named the 4th mass vaccination site in the state of Maryland. Here's a message from Regency Furniture about the honor that it has been and still is to be one of Maryland's mass vaccination sites, getting our community back to safety.
During these times of uncertainty, it helps to know there are things we can control to help ourselves and others.
For me, it presents the hope that soon enough, my friends and family will be together again.
We just want to take this moment to thank the Maryland National Guard for their support.
Welcome back inside the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network. Andrew Banster alongside Stevie Bowen as we get you in to the top of the second inning. Dave Collins, broadcaster for the Barnstormers, told me between innings this is the first time since June 1st that they've seen a scoreless first inning from either team. Mike Devine out for his second inning of work. His first offering to Ladarius Clark is swung on and missed. In Devine's first inning of work, the right-hander got into a little bit of a jam early, was able to rebound quite well. The sinker ball throwing right-hander found himself walking a batter, allowing a hit for back-to-back strikeouts and a ground out. Strike two off the outside corner, 1-2 the count. Devine facing off against Ladarius Clark, first time in their career facing each other, and it's going to be another strikeout. Mike Devine had 12 strikeouts his last time out. Already has 3 in his first 4 outs recorded here today.
Andrew, we talked about it in the top of the first inning. That break he has on most of his pitches, that ball looked like it was going to be on the inner half of the strike zone. It ended up way out of the zone. As you can see, Ladarius Clark just swinging out of his shoes for it.
First pitch to Blake Allemond will miss downstairs. You'll be hard-pressed to find a situation in which Mike Devine is just throwing a middle-of-the-road, straight fastball that doesn't move a ton. Nearly every pitch he throws is moving one way or another, which is certainly a trait that most pitchers wish they had. Generally, in most circumstances, it's always a good thing, but with a robot umpire that isn't human, doesn't get deceived by movement of pitches, sometimes it can't be quite as beneficial, but certainly the best of the best will use that to their advantage. Devine's fastball downstairs, 4 straight balls. And you mentioned for Mike Devine, in his last start, he had fantastic control. The right-hander walked nobody in 7 1/3 innings. That was just a couple of weeks ago. June 3rd, the last time that Mike Devine started. So a couple of rainouts and a day off have given him a 9-day rest between starts. Certainly not something he's used to, but at the same time, the right-hander, interestingly enough, was a reliever for most of his career until, I believe, 2 years ago. He tied the St. Paul Saints single-game strikeout record in back-to-back starts with 13 strikeouts at a point in the 2019 campaign. Hard hit chopper to the left side, foul. And again, the bullpen having some fun with those foul balls. You know, it seems like our bullpen has more fun than just about anybody in the league.
I agree. You know, you see Matt Latos, that ball just went right by him as he stands up and kind of looks at the batter like, hey, what was that for, man?
High fly to the right side. Here comes the right fielder, David Harris, who gloves it for the first, make that second out of the inning. And that gives way to Cleo Luis Rondon, the shortstop, number 7. Made some fantastic plays defensively in the bottom of the first, flashing the leather early. A lot of talent on this Lancaster team, but they've had some of it picked up, and very much like the Blue Crabs have just not been gelling at the right times to this point in the season. Certainly got off to a hot start, but have struggled since. Mentioned the high walk numbers by their pitching staff to this point in the season, averaging 8.5 a game. In addition, averaging 8.5 earned runs a game. In the left-handed batter's box, Rondon as he awaits the pickoff move over to first as Devine trying to keep the runner honest over at first. A ball and no strikes the count. Devine a long look into his catcher, Joe DeLuca. Chopper right up the middle. Devine turns his glove over, watches it go in. And yet another solid inning from the right-hander. A really promising start. And to be honest with you, Stevie, after two starts that just weren't Mike Devine worthy, a guy that is night in and night out fantastic, this is what we knew we were going to get sooner or later. And good thing for the Blue Crabs, it came sooner. We'll be right back on the other end of this break right here on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
This is Josh McAdams, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Did you know that the Washington, D.C. metro area is the fifth most expensive place to live in the entire United States of America? Sometimes finding affordable housing in this area can feel impossible. If you're struggling to find affordable housing, look no further than the Villages of St. Charles by Ross Properties. You can visit them online at villagesatstcharles.com for more information today. Villages of St. Charles, they'll have you safe at home. There's nothing quite like when the Blue Crabs retire the side. At Wealth Management Partners, they're on your side for your retirement planning needs. It's never too early to start planning your retirement. Talk to the experienced financial advisors of Wealth Management Partners located right here in Waldorf. Call them today at 301-885-0955. Again, Wealth Management Partners. Call them today at 301-885-0955.
This is Kent Blackstone, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Josh McAdams, Joe DeLuca, and Zach Collier due up for the Blue Crabs here in the bottom of the second. Mike Devine putting on a show to this point on the pitching mound. Tommy Shirley trying to match him. Southern Maryland had one Blue Crab reach base back in the bottom of the first. McAdams trying to provide a spark to a Blue Crabs offense that now has not scored dating back to last Tuesday. Now, to be fair, Southern Maryland has only played 2 games, including Tuesday night, since then. Over the course of a 140-game season, this year in a 120-game season, you're always going to have stretches just like that. No matter what level no matter what sport you're playing at. Everybody knows that on this Blue Crabs roster, so it's just a matter of how you respond to that adversity.
No, Andrew, you're completely right. You could have the best team in the league at one point of the season. The next thing you know, you lose 10 games in a row, and then you just bounce back like nothing happened.
McAdams waves at a pitch high and away.
Now a 1-2 count to McAdams. As you said, only 4 batters seen so far for Shirley on the mound. 1 strikeout for him.
Left on right matchup. The former Blue Crab hucks in a pitch, and again, shy of the plate, about 57 feet. That's the second time we've seen that from the left-hander to this point in the contest.
You can see the frustration on his face. Looks like he's not sure what's going on with that pitch either on the mound.
McAdams awaiting the Shirley offering. That Barnstormers infield really shifted to the pull side of the 5-hole hitter Josh McAdams. Fans on strike number 3 giving way to Joe DeLuca. DeLuca has been pretty solid this year, especially on the offensive side of the ball for this Blue Crab squad. Catching and hitting is generally a combination that's hard to find, about as elusive as power and speed. But DeLuca, to this point in the season, has showed us that he possesses the ability to both be an asset offensively and defensively at the catcher position. Shows bunt, pulls back. That's something we saw him actually succeed at the other night. It was quite the surprise when he laid down the bunt, but it was against the York Revolution in Southern Maryland's last game played. He had 1 of 2 hits for the Blue Crabs in the contest. It was a bunt single. DeLuca, number 17 on the back of his red Maryland-themed Blue Crabs jersey. Two-seamer from Shirley. Off the outer edge, a called strike.
You know, Andrew, you go back to what you were talking about, DeLuca being able to show that he is good behind the plate and also at the plate as well. So far, 273 this season with 5 RBIs, a home run, and a 749 OPS. And as you said, laid down a very good bunt the other day, which he was able to beat out for a single. So this guy can seem to be just to do a little bit of everything. And 2-2 the count now to DeLuca. 1 down at the top of the second inning. And the pitch from Shirley, right down the middle. DeLuca just looks at it. As now 2 up, 2 strikeouts down here in the top of the second inning for Shirley, as he is making quick work of the Blue Crabs lineup. And that is going to bring up the center fielder, number 8, Zach Collier, who, as we've seen, was normally in the leadoff spot for this Blue Crabs lineup. But we talked about how Stan Clyburn decided to switch a couple things up today. Shirley takes a second and steps off the mound. Shirley takes a second, and the pitch coming to Collier. As that first pitch is going to catch the outer half with a fastball for strike number 1. Collier, originally drafted by the Philadelphia Phillies back in 2008, back in the first round. As the second pitch from Shirley, she gets a little bit away for him. That's down and away for ball 1. 1-1 the count now to Collier. So far this season, just a .226 batting average. But a guy that, when you look at him, Collier's frame, 6'2", 200. You know, he's a speedy outfielder. You don't really think this guy's going to have a whole lot of power. But so far, he's got 2 home runs for him on the season. As that third pitch is going to be in the dirt. And another one we've seen from Shirley, unable to reach home plate. So hopefully he's able to figure out just what he can do with that pitch. 2-1 the count now, 2 outs in the top of the second inning. Or excuse me, bottom of the second inning. As that pitch is going to be high and outside, take it. And the count's going to go to 3-1. Collier with an .822 OPS this season. Takes the fourth pitch high for a ball. As now with 2 outs in the inning, Zach Collier gets his 5th walk of the season. As now there's a runner on for the starting shortstop, number 6, Kent Blackstone. Kent Blackstone normally in the 2 spot in this lineup. Now batting towards the bottom in 8th. Was with Southern Maryland in 2019. Played for New Jersey a little bit in 2020. As that first pitch is going to be low and in the dirt. Collier is going to take off. And the catch is not going to be able to be made by the shortstop, Rondon. As Collier is in there with a stolen base. And now we have a runner in scoring position with 2 outs in the inning. Blackstone started off the season very hot. Had 3 home runs in the first 5 games of the season. Hasn't had one since. Just a .311 batting average. A 1.015 OPS for him. With a .600 slugging. As he's currently towards the top of the leaderboard on this team with 27 total bases this season. And he lifts that one into left field. That one's carrying back. But the left fielder, Trayvon Robinson's there under it for the 3rd out of the inning. We'll be right back on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
This is Josh McAdams, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Did you know that the Washington, D.C. metro area is the 5th most expensive place to live in the entire United States of America? Sometimes finding affordable housing in this area can feel impossible. If you're struggling to find affordable housing, look no further than the Villages of St. Charles by Ross Properties. You can visit them online at villagesatstcharles.com for more information today. Villages of St. Charles, they'll have you safe at home. There's nothing quite like when the Blue Crabs retire the side. At Wealth Management Partners, they're on your side for your retirement planning needs. It's never too early to start planning your retirement. Talk to the experienced financial advisors of Wealth Management Partners located right here in Waldorf. Call them today at 301-885-0955. Again, Wealth Management Partners. Call them today at 301-885-0955.
This is Kent Blackstone, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Top of the 3rd action here at Regency Furniture Stadium. No score here so far. There's just 1 hit for each team, as the Barnstormers the only one with a hit this game. The Blue Crabs still looking for one, but they've had 2 runners on and 2 walks. They got all the way through the lineup in the first 2 innings, and that brings up the leadoff guy, Alejandro Diaza. Diaza reached on a walk in that first at-bat as he takes that first pitch inside for ball 1. Devine 3 strikeouts so far on the mound for him, as that second pitch also runs a little too far inside. Count runs to 2-0.
You know, Devine, a guy we've mentioned a couple of times, has a lot of movement on his pitches, Stevie. He's a guy that really can manipulate the strike zone, still trying to kind of find his groove against, of course, a non-human strike zone, should we say.
As that third pitch is going to be fouled back into the screen behind home plate, the count runs to 2-1. And Andrew, as we talked about, the first two appearances for Mike Devine is normally not what we see. And he's done a nice job so far being able to lock in this lineup. As that one's lifted to left field in between Blackstone and Lucci is going to get under it for the first out of the inning.
And a really good job by Lucci fighting the sun. Of course, with nobody on, you can take your time with a little bit of a route of your choice, if you will, when you're coming to the ball in the outfield. Get to it in any way possible, certainly trying to catch it in the air, but a good job fighting the sun by Lucci.
And that's going to bring up the second batter, number 15, the right fielder, Caleb Gindel,
who got on with a screaming line drive back up the middle in his first at-bat. And first pitch swinging as he fouls that one out of the stadium back behind home plate.
Devine, in his first year in the Atlantic League, spent the last nearly decade in the American Association.
And the 0-1 pitch from Devine, as that one's going to be skied into, might stay in the infield. And it looks like Baca's under it at second base. And he is going to gather it for the second out of the inning. And Devine really just working through this lineup the second time through.
I mean, he came out of the gates tonight looking as if it was going to be a difficult start for him to persevere through. Walks the first guy he faces, then allows a base hit. You thought at least the Barnstormers would get something in the first, and we've basically seen no offense from either side ever since.
So really, after that first hit, we haven't seen much of anything, as that first pitch is going to be a ball to Blake Galen. Galen struck out looking the last time on a pitch that was very close to being called a ball. Just like that one there, that stayed a little too far outside as the count runs to 2-0. Galen so far this season, .271 batting average, .810 slugging. As the third pitch is fouled back behind the screen, the count runs to 2-1.
He's certainly a guy that knows how to get on base. .435 on base percentage is elite, no matter what level of baseball you're playing at. If you get on base almost 4.5 out of every 10 plate appearances, you're doing something right.
That third pitch going to stay a little too far inside as the count runs to 3-1. He said in the 3 spot in this lineup, not a whole lot of home runs this year, just one of them for him. But he's got 10 RBIs so far for the Barnstormers. As that pitch is now fouled back behind the concourse, and that count runs full.
You know, Stevie, I'm still thinking about earlier in this contest when we were both very nervous when a ball went screaming towards a fan. It hit right off their chest, and they just acted as though it never happened.
And that fan is, I'm assuming now, just perfectly fine. And
they were from the moment.
They just sat back down in their seat and got ready for the game.
It was jarring.
As that ball is going to be looped into center field. Zach Collier's got to run for it, but he's able to come up with the ball for the third out of the inning. 1, 2, 3 for the top 3 in the Barnstormers lineup, as Mike Devine looks to be rolling through the second time through this lineup. As we'll be right back in just a few with the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
This is Mills Perez, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Hey, Blue Crabs fans. Make sure to visit the All-American Steakhouse and Sports Theater at 35 St. Patrick's Drive, right here in Waldorf, for some great food with great friends. Their steaks are fresh, hand-cut, in-house daily, as well as many other fresh seafood, chicken, and beef options. They offer outdoor and indoor dining, available each and every day, along with the same great menu to go if you would like. Please visit them online at www.theallamericansteakhouse.com. That's www.theallamericansteakhouse.com. You can also visit them on Facebook or Instagram. They have daily specials that you just can't pass up. Thank you, Blue Crabs fans. All Pawn is Southern Maryland's premier pawn shop and is the official pawn shop of the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. Stop by and say hello today. They've been a part of the Southern Maryland community for 18 years. If you need some cash to hold you over, or if you're just doing some spring cleaning and want to clear some stuff out, please bring it by All Pawn and let them make you an offer. If you have broken jewelry or some that you just don't want anymore, please bring it by, and they'll pay you more than anyone in the Tri-County area. They're located on 301 in White Plains, just south of DeMar Road. Go Blue Crabs!
Patrick Baker, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Bottom of the third here at Regency Furniture Stadium. It's still a scoreless game here against your Southern Maryland Blue Crabs and the Lancaster Barnstormers. That's going to bring out the designated hitter, the number 9 batter, Jordan Scott. First pitch to Scott is going to come fastball right down the middle for strike number 1.
You know, we've talked about it a couple of times already in this game, Stevie, but Tommy Shirley's a guy that's going to need to go pretty deep into this game, A, considering it's a doubleheader, B, considering we've got another game tomorrow at 2:05, and C, considering he's their ace, right? Now, when the Blue Crabs are really starting to push this lineup and make him go deeper and deeper into counts, it's going to make things really difficult on him. So really good plate approach to this point offensively for Southern Maryland.
Yeah, they've done a nice job so far. 2 walks for them in their lineup, and then a couple more at-bats that have gone to 3-2 counts, or at least 2-2 counts, as Jordan Scott swings through that one as the count runs to 1-2. Shirley, 3 strikeouts for him so far on the day. Comes the 1-2 pitch. And a no swing from Jordan Scott. Looked like he was going to let it rip, but decided to check it at the last minute as he goes down looking for the first out of the inning. And that's going to bring up the leadoff batter once again in Jake Lucci, who grounded out to the shortstop Rondon, the first at-bat of the game. Andrew, we've talked about before, Lucci, normally a 7 or 8 batter in the lineup, moved up to number 5, number 4 a couple times this season. First time seeing him at leadoff, and I can't lie to you, I didn't hate what I saw in his first at-bat.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's clearly a natural leadoff hitter, a guy with a lot of good speed. A lot of times he's going to make contact, put it in play. Very good plate discipline.
As he swings, first pitch there, going to be popped up to Rondon at shortstop. And a 1-pitch, 2-out. A 1-pitch, second out of the inning.
You know, Stevie, and that's certainly something that we've spoke about a good amount to this point in the season, is that Southern Maryland offensively, and it'll happen over the course of the season, but they've struggled to find a groove in terms of settling into at-bats, working them deeper. Certainly something we've seen a good amount of here tonight, but shades of early season Blue Crabs offensively with a 1-pitch out. And it's not always the worst thing to jump on the first pitch you see, but sometimes it's a good thing to try to be a little bit more patient.
Yeah, try to wait a little bit for your pitch, the one that you want to hit. And the first pitch to Bach as he squares the bunt and lets the strike go by. Count goes 0-1. Bach, as we talked about, signed by the Blue Crabs on June 4th. And so far, .357 batting average for him, a .400 on base percentage. As he started off not so hot for the Blue Crabs in that 9 spot, as he's able to pick it up a little bit and put himself in the 2 spot of that lineup as he swings through that second pitch for the second strike.
Yeah, anytime you're able to, start the season and struggle a little bit, and then next thing you know, less than a week later, you find yourself in the 2-hole, things have gone pretty well since your opener.
0-2 the count here, 2 outs in the bottom of the third inning. Shirley steps off the mound. So far, a pretty quick one for him. Just 6 pitches thrown for him. That one's going to be high and outside for ball 1.
Baca's not a guy that's going to kill you with his power, but certainly somebody that's going to find holes in the infield and get on base a whole lot. You mentioned the .400 on base percentage. He's a guy you really want in your 2-hole.
Just 5 hits for him this season, and I know at least 2 of them have just been little bloopers to the outfield, but they work out perfectly if you're going to be the number 2 guy in this lineup, able to just get on base any way you can.
It also wouldn't shock me to see him in the 1-hole at some point this year, Stevie. Another spot that he's already been in that I think also makes a ton of sense is the 9-hole. Those attributes really make sense for those spots in the lineup.
As he looks to be well ahead of that off-speed pitch, but able to make some type of contact and keep this at-bat alive as the count stays at 2-2.
Pretty quick moving game to this point for both sides. Not a ton of offense we've really seen either way.
See, you say that, Andrew, and now we're going to have like 5 straight innings, and the
That's
score
true.
the score is
I
going to
probably
be
should not
like
have said that.
the score is going to be like 25 to like 18 or something. As he slaps that one down the right field line, that's going to get down for a base hit. Baca's going to try to take 2, and we've talked about his speed as he is able to stroll into second easily on a little bloop double down the right field line.
And that's the type of stuff you're going to need from a 2-hole hitter like Michael Baca, a guy that was a late addition to this Southern Maryland Blue Crabs team after Edwin Garcia's contract was purchased by the Mexican League. And, of course, when you lose the reigning back-to-back Atlantic League Rawlings Gold Glove Defender of the Year, it's a big spot to fill, but Michael Baca has done a wonderful job at filling that spot to this point in the season.
As he has, and that brings up another guy who's shown off his glove a couple times this season down in the corner at first base. It's going to be Dario Pisano, who reached on a walk back in the first inning. First pitch to Pisano is going to be taken for a strike. As you said, as we talked about, walked, was able to draw a full count from Shirley back in the first inning. 1 runner in scoring position with 2 outs here for the Blue Crabs in the bottom of the third. Michael Baca, as we just saw, with a nice 2-out double down the right field line. Shirley steps off, takes second on the mound.
Pisano exploded offensively to start this year. Went 4 for 5 on the season opener with a home run and 2 doubles. And that's the type of stuff he's able to do. A great person to have in your lineup.
And a nice piece to the left side as Baca's going to be rounding third. He's going to try to score. He's going to be in there, and the Blue Crabs take the lead in the bottom of the third inning, 1-0 off of a 2-out base hit from Dario Pisano.
Great piece of hitting from Pisano. He recognizes that Baca at second has a pretty significant secondary lead, so the shortstop Rondon is covering. It's essentially a perfectly placed hit-and-run baseball, but instead of hit and run, it's just a really strong secondary lead, pulling that shortstop, sucking him in towards second. Really nice piece of hitting by Dario Pisano.
And that is doing a great job. It's something that is very hard to do, especially when a ball is coming at you at these high 80s pitches you'll be seeing in the Atlantic League normally. Being able to just perfectly place that ball exactly where you want it. And David Harris absolutely unloads on a baseball that lands on top of the clubhouse. The Blue Crabs are up 3-0 on a 2-run home run from David Harris.
And there was absolutely no doubt about that one. As he performs his home run celebration, you got to have a big smile on your face if you're David Harris. There was no chance that ball is ever being seen again by anybody on the whole face of the earth, Stevie. It was an absolute moonshot, and that's what we know David Harris is able to do. To be completely honest with you, being placed in the cleanup spot might have given him the confidence to just be like, you know what, I am that guy. And he showed that he is right there. 3-0. How about it for Southern Maryland?
You know, this is really only the second or third time we've seen Harris put in that cleanup spot. And as we've talked about, he hasn't really been able to do what a cleanup batter does. And he just perfectly showed it right there. The Blue Crabs now up 3 in the bottom of the third inning. Josh McAdams is going to leave that first pitch on the outer half of the strike zone. That's going to be called ball 1.
And fans, you see the mini monster in left field, of course, and the picnic deck on top of it. That ball landed on the red roof behind the mini monster, at least 375 off the bat. What an absolute rocket from David Harris, and a much-needed spark, ending a Blue Crab scoring drought in this inning that lasted a total of 18 and a half innings offensively.
As McAdams swings through the fastball there, it evens the count at 1-1. And as we talked about before the game, one of the things the Blue Crabs really need to do is bring in those runners that they leave in scoring position. They have a lot of runners left on base this season, and that really just seems to be the killer for this team for the most part. And this inning alone, they've done that very well.
Yeah, you know, the first 2 innings were looking slightly grim, and of course you're coming off a 2-day stint in which all you saw was rain. So, of course, the bats are going to come out a little bit quiet, but when you have the meat of your order coming up in the third, when they perform well, that's exactly what you want.
And McAdams strikes out to end the third inning. But 3 runs off of a Michael Baca 2-out double, a Dario Pisano base hit to bring him around, and a first pitch swinging David Harris absolute bomb to left field as the Blue Crabs now up 3-0 heading into the top of the 4th. We will be right back on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network. Thank you guys for joining us.
This is Ryan Caparese, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
There's nothing quite like when the Blue Crabs retire the side. At Wealth Management Partners, they're on your side for your retirement planning needs. It's never too early to start planning your retirement. Talk to the experienced financial advisors of Wealth Management Partners located right here in Waldorf. Call them today at 301-885-0955. Again, Wealth Management Partners. Call them today at 301-885-0955. Weiss Markets is a proud sponsor of the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs and has been since their inaugural season in 2008. Weiss Markets also presents one of the Blue Crabs' best and most famous promotions every single year. Kids can get in free to every single Blue Crabs game of every single year simply by wearing a jersey thanks to Weiss Markets. Weiss Markets can help you with all of your game day needs for a great price. Stop in at your local Weiss today. Eat better, spend less. That's wise. Weiss Markets is a proud sponsor of the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs.
This is Sam Burton, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Top of the 4th, hitting here at Regency Furniture Stadium. And a first pitch hack from Trayvon Robinson fouls that one off as he starts with an 0-1 count. And Andrew, as we talked about already, Blue Crabs had trouble bringing guys in and scoring runs as they had an 18-inning run drought. Right before that last inning, David Harris smacked a 2-run home run right after Dario Pisano had a 2-out RBI base hit. And Devine still on the mound here for the Blue Crabs, as the count now quickly 0-2 to Trayvon Robinson. That pitch is going to be fouled off to the right side as he's going to stay alive in the inning. It's going to stay 0-2.
You know, and generally, Stevie, baseball's not played at this hour here at Regency Furniture Stadium. But since it is before 6:35 and we're playing right around dusk, the shading's going to be a little bit different than we're used to, and you can see that right at home plate.
Yeah, it's going to be a little tougher for these guys out in the field dealing with that sun, as they're going to have to get used to it because it's going to be around for a little while longer. So the count stays 0-2 off of 2 more foul balls from Trayvon Robinson.
You know, Stevie, we talk about, of course, the sun and the shade, and, you know, we were rained out each of the last 2 days.
And a big swing and a miss from Trayvon Robinson as Devine sits down the first batter of the inning.
But
now 1 out.
You know, we talk about that. I wanted to know, what's your thoughts on a dome or artificial turf or any of that stuff? Do you prefer it natural like this, or are you more of a guy that prefers to have a dome and turf?
See, I will always prefer the original, like we have here at Regency Furniture. I love outdoor grass and dirt stadiums. You know, it's what you grew up playing on. It's what you've always known. But I also play like very competitive slow pitch softball now, and we play on a lot of turf fields all the time. And I honestly do not have a preference. I just think either one's just fun.
I do agree, though. You know, particularly watching baseball, not being in a dome is pretty nice because it's almost kind of depressing playing or even watching, of course, or broadcasting inside. When you don't have that natural sunlight, it just doesn't feel like the same thing.
Now on a 1-0 count, that ball lined to second baseman Baca, goes to his knees to dive on the ball and makes the throw to first. As now quickly there are 2 down in the inning, and that's going to bring up the designated hitter, Ladarius Clark.
We have seen extraordinary defensive play from Southern Maryland, not only fielding the ball, but also the pitcher, Mike Devine, has been divine to this point. No pun intended.
And that's going to bring up the designated hitter, Ladarius Clark, who struck out on 4 pitches in his first at-bat in the second inning. That first pitch going to run high and inside for ball 1.
That's the first time we've seen Mike Devine pull that out of his bag of tricks. He went almost sidearm on that last pitch.
As you know, if you're a pitcher and you're able to take command on the mound, putting your arm in different positions, that's just another way you can throw off these batters. Could end up helping you a lot in the long run. And a big swing on a slider that just kept getting out of that zone. Darius Clark now with a 1-2 count.
And this is the Mike Devine that we expected here in Southern Maryland. He has been as advertised to this point.
A foul ball that dribbles right to the bat boy, but he's unable to make the play. As Clark able to stay alive here with a 1-2 count in the top of the 4th inning. Devine hasn't thrown a walk since the second inning. As we talked about, he walked that first batter of the game. As that pitch is going to make the count 2-2 with 2 outs here still in the top of the 4th inning.
Watch for an off speed right here. Looking for a strikeout from Mike Devine.
I was expecting a slider that's going to stay out of the zone. That one looked to be a little bit off speed. He's just unable to locate it as that one's going to be low and away. And the count's going to run 3-2.
He's got a tremendous off-speed repertoire between the sliding curveball, the slider that we just saw, the changeup, even the sinker.
Full count pitch, swing and a miss from the designated hitter Clark. As 1-2-3, a strikeout, a ground out to the second baseman, and another strikeout is all she wrote for the top of the 4th inning for Mike Devine. As we'll be back in the bottom of the 4th inning here on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
This is Mills Perez, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Hey Blue Crabs fans, make sure to visit the All-American Steakhouse and Sports Theater at 35 St. Patrick's Drive, right here in Waldorf, for some great food with great friends. Their steaks are fresh, hand-cut, in-house daily, as well as many other fresh seafood, chicken, and beef options. They offer outdoor and indoor dining, available each and every day, along with the same great menu to go if you would like. Please visit them online at www.theallamericansteakhouse.com. That's www.theallamericansteakhouse.com. You can also visit them on Facebook or Instagram. They have daily specials that you just can't pass up. Thank you, Blue Crabs fans. All Pawn is Southern Maryland's premier pawn shop and is the official pawn shop of the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. Stop by and say hello today. They've been a part of the Southern Maryland community for 18 years. If you need some cash to hold you over, or if you're just doing some spring cleaning and want to clear some stuff out, please bring it by All Pawn and let them make you an offer. If you have broken jewelry or some that you just don't want anymore, please bring it by, and they'll pay you more than anyone in the Tri-County area. They're located on 301 in White Plains, just south of DeMar Road. Go Blue Crabs!
This is Patrick Baker, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
After an offensive explosion in the bottom of the 3rd inning, Southern Maryland returns here in the bottom of the 4th, trying to replicate the offense that they've been waiting for since Tuesday night. Of course, back-to-back rainouts on both Thursday and Friday, but Southern Maryland finding themselves struggling offensively until back-to-back pitches broke the scoring seal of this game. And, of course, the catcher Joe DeLuca will try to keep that going here in the bottom of the 4th. With that being said, Shirley has been pretty good to this point in the contest. The left-hander Just a couple of pitches that have gotten him into trouble. He's also had a little bit of difficulty with his locations and spotting up, in particular on his off-speed pitches.
Yeah, we've seen a couple balls of his just go right in the dirt. Just unable to locate those ones. The Blue Crabs done a good job holding off on him.
Showing bunt is DeLuca. Bounces right in between the catcher, De La Rosa, and the pitcher, Shirley. Very well-placed bunt, but didn't have the legs to beat it out.
I thought that bunt originally was just going to be a pop-up to the pitcher, but a nice job by the catcher to get up there and make the play.
So the 6-hole hitting catcher, Joe DeLuca, attempts the bunt, is unable to get it going, and that gives us a one-out. Center fielder, Zach Collier, coming up to the plate.
Collier reached on a walk back in the bottom of the second inning. Just the second batter to be on for the Blue Crabs before they started scoring some runs in the bottom of the third.
Shirley's pitch to Collier, just a little inside for ball one. This is the first time Collier has started a game anywhere other than the leadoff position at this point in the season. Left on left matchup. Shirley's pitch, a changeup inside for strike number one. Bottom of the fourth, your Blue Crabs up 3-0, trying to snap a 4-game losing streak. Still very, very early in the season. But interestingly, Stevie, when Southern Maryland last played, they were back 3 games of the, at the time, Atlantic League North Division leading Lancaster Barnstormers. They had a couple days off due to rainouts, and just like that, we're back 4.5 games of now the Long Island Ducks. But, of course, today, with a pair of wins and a Long Island loss, you could see yourself climb back all the way to 3 games back.
You know, these are the series that really mean a lot. If you're able to, bring a couple of wins into your win column against the top team in your division, you can see yourself moving up that lineup pretty quickly.
Mentioned the rainout back on Thursday. What should have been the series finale with the York Revolution, that game has been moved to a doubleheader on June the 25th against York. As for yesterday's contest, means we're having a doubleheader this evening and one more at 2:05 tomorrow. Within a course of 24 hours, these teams will play each other in 3 games. It's inter-division baseball. So, of course, 3 games against a division rival in 24 hours can change a whole lot, especially this early in the season. Shirley's pitch. Collier thinks it's ball 4, and he's right. As Zach Collier gets on with 1 down after the Joe DeLuca bunt attempt.
As we talked about, the thing the Blue Crabs really need to do with their lineup is take more pitches, try to draw some walks, and really let Shirley get his pitch count high enough early in this game. And so far, they've done a great job at that in Collier with 2 walks in the day.
Kent Blackstone with the Maryland-themed socks to match the Maryland-themed Blue Crabs jersey. Another left-on-left matchup. Generally having a lineup dominated by left-handed hitters is beneficial, other than when the starting pitcher is left-handed, which is the case for both Barnstormers starting pitchers this evening. Ross Peoples, the former Atlantic League player, now manager, of course, doesn't want to dig too deep into his already thin bullpen. We mentioned there's 6 pitchers getting purchased by the MLB, but in addition to that, a whole lot of innings thrown of late. Blackstone shows bunt but pulls back. The count of ball and a strike. The Barnstormers fresh off a series against the Gastonia Honey Hunters. That was in Lancaster. So just a 4-hour drive south, right down here to Waldorf. Lancaster and York, the 2 closest opponents for the Blue Crabs in the Atlantic League. As you see, there's some Little Leaguers out here today, and they appeared to basically be fighting for that baseball. And to be honest with you, Stevie, if it was any other way, I wouldn't be okay with it, because that's how Little Leaguers should be. That's one of the most fun times of your life.
as we talked about, I grew up just 30 minutes away from this stadium. That reminds me of coming down here, going to the Bay Sox Stadium in Bowie, just going there with my baseball team, having fun with some friends.
Nothing like it. Nothing like it. Those are going to be lifelong friends, of course. Left-on-left matchup. 2-2 the count. One down. Blackstone calls time, and it is received by the home plate umpire. Good job by Blackstone as Shirley was taking his time out on the mound. You know, you don't see two pitchers as polar opposite as Tommy Shirley and a guy like Darrell Thompson, somebody who works extremely fast on the mound, of course also a right-hander. And for Thompson, he's not going to beat you with his speed. He's going to beat you with his craftiness, whereas Shirley, a left-hander who works much slower and tries to blow everybody away with a fastball, which, of course, can oftentimes lead to some control problems, of which Darrell Thompson generally has none of. Thompson did pitch in the last Blue Crabs game played before this consecutive rainouts. The right-hander struggled and proved to us that, yes, he is a human. He's a guy that had been masterful dating back to really his whole time as a Blue Crab, but in particular back to the start of the 2019 season as Blackstone bloops one to left center. In comes the MLB veteran Alejandro De Aza, who gloves it for out number 2.
You know, an at-bat like that for Blackstone, when 7 pitches there, had a couple foul balls, still doing what we said needs to happen with this Blue Crabs lineup, just trying to draw out the pitches from Shirley. It's not the result he wanted at the end of that bat.
So that gives way to Jordan Scott. 2 down, a runner at first, and if you're Southern Maryland, you really just got to keep trying to pile on those runs. That's your thought process right now.
Yeah, this is the first time this Blue Crabs team has had a lead in a very long time. At this point, you just want to keep this lead and keep adding on top to it.
To recap, just back in the bottom of the third, Michael Baca doubled, and Dario Pisano brought him home with a hot shot through the left side of the infield. On the very next pitch, David Harris tore the cover off a baseball, sending it into the next solar system with a big-time 2-run jack to give the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs a 3-0 lead. Mike Devine has been masterful on the mound for Southern Maryland. And I would honestly be shocked if he didn't throw a complete game today. He's a guy that Stan Clyburn has proved that he trusts no matter the situation. A really good example of that being his very most recent start. He went 7 1/3 while allowing 8 earned runs, 5 of which were in the first 3 innings. So he's got a long leash. Trying to swipe second base is Zach Collier, but a beautifully placed throw by the longtime Atlantic League veteran Alejandro De Aza, who I also have a very interesting story about.
Oh, do tell, Andrew.
I'll bring it up on the other end of the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
This is Sam Burton, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Chick-fil-A of Charles County has been a proud supporter of the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs since their inception in 2008. For years, they have sponsored the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs, America's prisoners of war and missing in action. In between the second inning of each game, there is a moment of silence brought to you by Chick-fil-A. The Southern Maryland Blue Crabs appreciate and respect not only Chick-fil-A, but all of those that have served our great country. The seat that they sponsor was made possible by Chick-fil-A of Charles County. Thank you so much, and visit any of your Charles County Chick-fil-A locations today. The Charles County Department of Health encourages you to get the COVID-19 vaccination today. You can get it all over Southern Maryland or no matter where you are across the United States. Vaccinations are offered right here at Regency Furniture Stadium with no appointment needed. Charles County Department of Health and the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs urge you to take one for the team and get the vaccine.
This is Will Decker, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Mike Devine out for his 4th inning of work. Make that his 5th inning of work here in the top of the 5th. Devine has been fantastic to this point. He starts us off with a sidearm pitch. He already has a pretty significantly low arm angle, for lack of a better term. But sometimes he drops it down even lower, which, you can say what you want about it, but in my opinion, we give guys like Patrick Mahomes so much credit for changing arm angles all the time, and the concept behind it is very similar as a pitcher in terms of difficulty. Of course, you use them for different reasons, but it's not an easy task to do, and it's something that Devine makes look like it's second nature.
It's not easy at all, and Andrew, we've talked about multiple times that neither one of us really deserve to be out there on that field, but I can't hit one of those sidearm pitches, that's for sure.
A high fly to the right side is fouled as Blake Alamon steps back into the left-handed batter's box. The 7-hole hitter with the catcher Alejandro De Rosa waiting on deck. The shortstop Clay Lewis Rondon in the hole. The count of ball and 2 strikes. Devine trying to end this at bat just as quickly as it started, but it will extend at least a little further as the foul ball bloops over the netting into the concourse right near the Brew Crab bullpen, which brings us right into, the topic of the day. I can't believe we haven't mentioned it to this point. Of course, Southern Maryland and the Blue Crabs releasing their very own beer this season, the Southern Maryland Brew Crab.
Amazing pun.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's incredible.
In Game 2, the Blue Crabs will wear their Southern Maryland Brew Crab jerseys. Right on left matchup, Devine coming home with the 1-2 once more. Fastball chasing is the hitter, Blake Alamond. And a strikeout is how we begin this 5th inning of action.
As you said, Devine got a lot of movement on his pitches, but that one didn't seem to have a whole lot on there at all. And it was just a hard fastball that stayed on the outer half of the strike zone. A well-placed ball.
Devine, for lack of a better term, is almost like a dancer out there in a sense. And in all seriousness, he really is. And
I agree.
It's almost like a game of chess for him, right? Sometimes you're going sidearm, sometimes you're going to put a ton of movement on a pitch, and then on your third 1-2 pitch in a row, as a batter, the last thing you're expecting is a pitch that A, isn't going to move, but is B, 5 miles an hour harder than any pitch he's thrown all day. He has a lot of things up his bag of tricks, and as a hitter, when you're off balance and you're not knowing what to expect, that's the last position you want to be in, and Devine puts you that in just about every at-bat.
That was a good way of putting it. It's like playing a game of chess. He is in the batter's head. He knows what they're thinking the whole time as he sits the second batter of the inning down as well.
He has been incredible, and as advertised, entering this season in Southern Maryland after a dominant stretch for Michael Devine over a long course of time in the American Association of Professional Baseball.
That's Devine's 7th strikeout of this contest so far. And as we talked about, this doubleheader, we only play 7-inning games, so we only have about 2.5 innings left to go.
Shortstop number 7, Clay Lewis Rondon up to the plate. That second strikeout of the inning was to Alejandro Anderson De La Rosa. De La Rosa, in fact, was the catcher when Tony Thomas stole first base for the first time ever. Interesting story about that. That was back in 2019 with the Atlantic League MLB rule changes that allowed runners to steal first base. At the time, no batters took it seriously enough to act like they were really going to attempt it. So when there would be a pass ball with nobody on, catchers naturally did what you would normally do. You don't sprint after it. The umpire goes and gets it, or the ball boy comes and gets it. Mm-hmm. It's just natural reaction. And in fact, a couple of times in those first couple of weeks, the umpire just, out of second nature went and grabbed it, and they'd be like, whoa, 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 it's still technically a live ball.
You have to give that buffer time in between. You're not going to be able to remember that rule every single
yeah,
time the first week. Of course, that's to be expected that people are going to mess up a little bit.
So De La Rosa, as anybody would, just kind of let the ball go.
Okay.
And Tony Thomas was like, wait, he didn't go get it. I'm running.
See ya.
And that's how it all started.
And now his cleats are forever in the Baseball Hall of Fame. That is awesome.
Pretty crazy. He also has a lifetime pass to get in for free to the Hall of Fame anytime he wants. Cooperstown was nice enough to send that to Thomas and returned for donating his cleats. He has his own shrine at the Hall of Fame. Mike Devine, two-seamer on the outside corner, walks off with his shoulders back and his chin up as he should, strikes out the side. How about 8 strikeouts for the right-hander through 5 innings of action? Southern Maryland trying to pad their lead on the other end of this break right here on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
This is Jordan Scott. You're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
When you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Tony McClure of Century 21 New Millennium and his Grand Slam team. The realtor of the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs since our first season in 2008. Tony and his team of preferred partners includes Tim Murphy of CNF Mortgage and Steve Scott of the Scott Law Group. Together, they will ensure that your real estate needs are nothing short of a grand slam. The quality service you will receive is Hall of Fame worthy. Put Tony's 41-plus years of experience to work for you. Call or text Tony today at 301-928-1280 for your personal Grand Slam experience. Go Blue Crabs. Did you know that the Washington, D.C. metro area is the 5th most expensive place to live in the entire United States of America? Sometimes finding affordable housing in this area can feel impossible. If you're struggling to find affordable housing, look no further than the Villages of St. Charles by Ross Properties. You can visit them online at villagesatstcharles.com for more information today. Villages of St. Charles. They'll have you safe at home.
This is Matt Latos, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
A new arm on the mound for the Lancaster Barnstormers. It's a right-hander this time. Number 26, Yoel Espinal. 6'2", 232 pounds, a righty out of the Dominican Republic. Resides in Somerset, New Jersey, and now joins the longtime foe of the Somerset Patriots, who are now in affiliated baseball, the Lancaster Barnstormers. Both the Barnstormers and the Patriots had been in the Atlantic League dating back to 2000 at least. Even back into the 90s, they were two of the oldest teams in the Atlantic League alongside the Long Island Ducks. Of course, followed by the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs and the York Revolution, who joined in 2008. In this 2021 season, the Atlantic League saw the Gastonia Honey Hunters. The High Point Rockers were added in 2019. Again in 2021, we added 2 more teams in the Lexington Legends as well as the West Virginia Power.
And Scott's going to take a low fastball. Good. Looked like it hit him off the top of the foot as he trots down to first. Brings up the top of the lineup in Jake Lucci.
You know, I love the way that Jake Lucci steps into his batter's box.
I watch it every time. It's one of my favorite things.
It's not quite what Juan Soto does, but it's of the same nature.
Exactly. It has the same effect to it. He has that lunge into the strike zone just to swipe it, and it's one of those things as a ball player, you have those routines when you go up to the plate.
And he also has some swag to him about it. It's more fitting to his personality maybe. A guy that's very, soft-spoken and easygoing, in Lucci, but also has a little bit of swag to him, right? So he's a guy that makes sense to have a cool entrance to the batter's box, whereas Soto's is more aggressive in nature. Kind of,
he's more of a I'm going to come after you right this
yeah,
second.
exactly.
Jake Lucci's his walk up is more of like I'm psyching myself up.
Yeah.
Juan Soto's like I'm going to hurt you pretty
Yeah.
much like when he comes to the plate.
That's true. He's
a
going to hurt
little
the
more
baseball at
aggressive with
least.
it.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yes.
You know, Lucci, I mean, what a guy. He's such a nice guy. Why don't you tell the story about what happened yesterday?
I was about to say, yesterday, after our rain out, all the interns decided to have a little bit of fun. You guys follow us on TikTok at Blue Crabs. You can see a video I worked very hard on today. And we had a little tarp slide in action. As Scott's going to steal second base, and no one's going to be there to cover. Nice job by Lucci showing the bunt. The infield moved around to try to cover it. But yesterday, Jake Lucci, a couple Blue Crabs players in left field were warming up, just practicing as the interns were doing the tarp slides. He comes over and joins us with a couple of them and comes over and let us know that we're doing a great job with all of our hard work here. I mean, you can't say anything else besides it. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I agree. He said, you mind if I join you guys? And
yeah, he asked to join us,
we were like,
of all things.
Of course,
yeah,
please.
Of course you
what a
join
nice
us.
guy. Really, really nice guy. And
Fantastic.
A heck
dude.
of a ball player. Really good addition to this Southern Maryland team. Fits the mold that Stan Clyburn builds his teams around. Chops one up the middle, throw to first in time. But Clyburn is well known for building his teams around a bunch of guys that are just all around good dudes.
They're just cool dudes to be around.
And that does go a long ways. I mean, it really does.
If you have a group of guys that you know
each other?
Well, I mean, yes, of course, that like each other, which honestly, a lot of times you don't see. A lot of egos get in the way when you start playing professional sports. But when you get a group of guys that like each other, you start to hang out outside of the stadium, outside of the ballpark, outside of practice, and it just forms that bond even more, and you just become a better team overall.
A beautiful off-speed pitch to Michael Baca. He swings over it for strike number one, but you know, I think the best example of that at least I've seen this year was when Braxton Lee had his contract purchased, and he was going to report to the AA for the Reds, the Chattanooga Outlooks, and it was 2 days later he had yet to report. He was scheduled to report the next day. And, you know, most guys would be, off to the races, right? Going back to whatever it is that they needed to do. He's an MLB veteran. He's a guy with a lot of, Don Mattingly said that he's an elite defender at the major league level. This is a guy with high praise.
From Don Mattingly.
Right.
Exactly.
And 2 days after he was picked up, he was still just hanging out with the guys talking in the clubhouse. And if that doesn't tell you the caliber of individuals that reside on this Blue Crabs team this year, I don't know what will.
You know, as you said, guys, once they find out their contract has been bought, like you said, it's nothing against the organization, but they're out of here. They're moving on to the next step as fast as possible. But yeah, Braxton Lee staying back, hanging out with the guys. You know, we miss having him on this team. He was absolutely tearing it up when he was here the first couple games of the season, which rightfully so got him bought out.
But Steve, he tore it up in his first game as a member of the Chattanooga Outlooks. He went 2 for 5 in his first contest. Currently hitting 3 for 14 in 3 games with the Outlooks. Make that the Lookouts, I should say. No homers and RBI. He also has a double. But it's tough to really judge things on that small of a sample size. He also is a guy that made SportsCenter top 10 one time for a diving play. Pretty incredible.
I remember that play. It was a very good one.
An MLB veteran is Braxton Lee, as Michael Baca awaits the 0-2. High and tight for ball number 1.
Looked like Baca wanted to swing at that one. Thought it was going to break a little more in the strike zone, but nice job hanging off on that.
Yoel Espinal, again, 6'2", 230. Began his career with many years of affiliated ball between the Detroit Tigers, New York Yankees, Tampa Bay Rays, Texas Rangers organizations. Was in affiliated ball all the way until 2019 after starting back in 2011. This is his first season outside of affiliated baseball. And, sometimes guys transition and they come into independent leagues and think it's going to be smooth sailing, just to find out that it is just as high, if not a higher level than Double-A.
But come to find out that you're about to be playing against a bunch of guys that are looking to get where you just came from.
He has a 1-1 record with an 11.25 ERA on the young season as Baca strikes out for out number 2. That was one of the things the Lexington Legends preached to their fans when they were taken out of high A and put into Double-A and even Triple-A, Double-A, Triple-A level, I should say. They kept saying to their fans, you guys might not understand, but this Atlantic League is no joke. This is a league full of MLB veterans. Of course, the league averages 7 MLB veterans per team. It's a very high level of baseball. As Dario Pisano, who got things started for the Blue Crabs back in the bottom of the third, sees strike number 1.
As we saw, Pisano able to put that ball perfectly in between the shortstop and the third baseman to bring around Baca from second base. Looks like there's still a little bit of a gap there where he hit it last time. As that extra run from Scott from second would just pad onto their lead.
And then a really heavy pull shift at second base with Mercedes, which again is a little interesting, especially after Pisano showed you firsthand that he's able to go to both sides of the field with it.
Yeah, it just kind of leaves the middle of the field wide open for a ground ball up the middle.
And for a professional hitter like Pisano, which he is, I mean, this is a guy that you're not going to see many people with the talent he has. He's a guy that can put it anywhere, so to give him that big of a gap is a little head-scratching. At the same time, it's understandable considering this is the first time Lancaster has seen Pisano this year. Pisano has played in the Atlantic League previously, but Rondon, for example, has not. The third baseman, Alamond, has not. The second baseman, Mercedes, has. But really, Pisano only played in about 20 games in the Atlantic League prior to this season. Pisano, another guy that is a stand-up individual on and off the field, does a whole lot of work for advocating for multiple sclerosis. In fact, he is working with the front office right now trying to put together an MS awareness night.
Wow, that'd be awesome.
It really would. I mean, you just don't see that everywhere. So when you do, I mean, especially us in the front office, we're open to ideas, right? We want to do things that the players, the fans, everybody likes. As I believe they're going to intentionally walk Pisano here.
Which, honestly, not a terrible move. But that also brings up the big David Harris.
I was about to say.
Oh, don't worry. I knew where you're headed with it. As we saw last time, first pitch swing and put one on top of the clubhouse in deep left field.
Yeah, we mentioned it. I mean, that ball was an absolute moonshot. There was no doubt for even a second after David Harris made contact. And it was the sweetest sound in all of baseball when that ball left his bat.
You know, we've seen a couple home runs here at this stadium that have for sure gone farther, but the launch angle on that ball, there without a second, knew that ball was going to be gone.
I got to say, the last thing I expected was for Harris to lay down a bunt attempt after that, but at the same time, he does have plus speed.
You know, you want to show that a guy can do everything.
Not to mention the third base, Alamond is playing back and continues to do so even after the bunt attempt is shown. Harris back in the box against Yoel Espinal. Big-time homer his last time up. We'll see how he responds. Changeup misses upstairs, and the count evens at a ball and a strike. David Harris, a former Frontier League MVP, over his last 3 seasons of independent baseball, averaging a .349 batting average in over 300 games played.
The big swing. Harris is trying to repeat what he did his last at bat, but just far out in front of that ball.
Espinal facing Harris, trying to soothe what has been a difficult year to this point for the right-hander. Harris, a check swing, home plate umpire makes the call himself, says he went around. Southern Maryland leaves runners on the corners. A 3-0 lead heading into the top of the sixth here in the first game of a twin bill, both 7-inning games. We'll be right back on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
This is Ryan Caparese, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
There's nothing quite like when the Blue Crabs retire the side. At Wealth Management Partners, they're on your side for your retirement planning needs. It's never too early to start planning your retirement. Talk to the experienced financial advisors of Wealth Management Partners located right here in Waldorf. Call them today at 301-885-0955. Again, Wealth Management Partners. Call them today at 301-885-0955. Weiss Markets is a proud sponsor of the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs and has been since their inaugural season in 2008. Weiss Markets also presents one of the Blue Crabs' best and most famous promotions every single year. Kids can get in free to every single Blue Crabs game of every single year simply by wearing a jersey thanks to Weiss Markets. Weiss Markets can help you with all of your game day needs for a great price. Stop in at your local Weiss today. Eat better, spend less. That's wise. Weiss Markets is a proud sponsor of the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs.
To the top of the sixth we go here in a 7-inning contest. First of two here today on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network. Couple of housekeeping items to take care of. A defensive substitution for the Barnstormers. A new shortstop into the game, number 12, Nick Schumpert, will replace Cleo Lewis Rondon. Additionally, the reliever, Yoel Espinal, will bat in his own spot. Well struck to the right side. Shouldn't be a problem for Zach Collier in center, who paces to his left, puts his tan glove up and catches on the second pitch of Mike Devine's sixth inning of action.
You know, we've talked about it a couple times this season already. This outfield for the Blue Crabs has so much speed between Lucci in left, Collier in center, and honestly, whoever is in right. Sometimes it's David Harris right now. Sometimes it's Will Decker as well. These guys are able to track those balls in the gaps really well.
Yeah, I mean, there's no better feeling for a pitcher than when you turn around and you know your outfield's going to make a play for you, although not much they could do there as a hard hit line drive through the right side of the infield will put the first Barnstormer of the inning on after Caleb Gindel singles.
Caleb Gindel, first pitch swinging. Realized Devine was probably going to come after him with one of those fastballs. Did a nice job getting on top of it and bringing it to the right field.
We mentioned that Blake Galen did just a little bit of pitching so far this season. Pitched once in 2019 in AAA for the Oklahoma City Dodgers. Again in 2017 at the AA level. Before that, he actually pitched a fair amount back in 2007 and 2008 in the independent ranks. You know, there's rumors flying around the Atlantic League, though, that he has the best pickoff move in all of baseball.
Really?
I won't believe it until I see it, but I am intrigued to see it. Devine comes set. The right-hander working out of the stretch. The fastball misses. And the count evens at a ball and a strike. Devine, a long look in, shakes off his catcher Joe DeLuca a handful of times. Now he likes what he sees. The right-hander comes set. The 1-1 inside, called strike. And Divine has been fantastic to this point. Dare I say divine to this point.
Nice. The top of the 6th inning.
As Galen slaps it the other way, Lucci tracks it down. A slide to get back into position. Off the bat, that looked to be extra bases, no doubt about it. There's no better feeling for a pitcher than when you think extra bases off the bat and your outfielder comes and saves you. What a play to help out Mike Divine, who could have potentially seen one of his first jams since the first inning.
And you really said it, Andrew. Just a nice job getting over to make that play off the bat. It looked like it was going to be a double, maybe even a triple in the gap. We saw one go down the left field line that ended up bouncing away from Lucci. But a nice job getting over there and making the sliding catch.
First pitch to Trayvon Robinson misses outside. You know, the 2020 pandemic was one of the saddest and most lonely and longest times of our lives, and I do have a point in saying this.
Thank you.
Trayvon Robinson had a really touching video when he returned, you know, of course, after not playing in 2020 with the Barnstormers. So he takes the year off, and the Barnstormers social media team, who does a great job, put up a video of Robinson coming in and surprising the coaching staff after, of course, more than a year off. And it was really heart-touching, you know, seeing how tight-knit all those guys are.
That's got to be really cool to see.
A ball and a strike to count to Robinson. Divine working a incredible contest to this point. Numbers-wise, if you're just looking at statistics, there's absolutely no question that the tougher game for Southern Maryland to win was going to be this first half of the Twin Bill. The pitching matchup in the first matchup was Tommy Shirley, 2-0 with a 2.51 ERA against Mike Divine, who came in 0-2 with an 8.76 ERA. So naturally, the Barnstormers would be the presumptive favorites in this first contest. Big off-speed pitch swung on and missed by Robinson. In Game 2, however, it's Augie Silk 0-0 with a 12 ERA against Brandon Barker, who has a 2.70 ERA on the year. So pretty favorable matchup in the back end of the doubleheader for Southern Maryland. Divine finding a groove for the first time this year after a 9-day hiatus from the mound. He's the number 2 arm in this Blue Crabs starting rotation. The right-hander, of course, saw the Blue Crabs have a day off and then back-to-back rainouts. Last time he pitched was all the way back on June 3rd, which was the day before this Blue Crabs homestand started. Another slider, nothing much Trayvon Robinson can do about it. And watch Mike Divine just strut off the field. Shoulders back, chin up. He knows he's in command of this contest, Stevie. A 3-0 lead brings us into the bottom of the 6th. Mike Divine on a roll right here on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
This is Carlos Diaz, and you are listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Good.
American Radiology is the clear choice for all of your medical imaging needs. With locations in Charles and Calvert counties, they offer a full range of imaging services. Some of their latest innovations included 3D mammography and wide-open MRIs for our claustrophobic patients. For your convenience, they even offer extended weekday hours and Saturdays. For more information or to schedule an appointment, visit their website at AmericanRadiology.com. When you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Tony McClure of Century 21 New Millennium and his Grand Slam team, the realtor of the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs since our first season in 2008. Tony and his team of preferred partners includes Tim Murphy of CNF Mortgage and Steve Scott of the Scott Law Group. Together, they will ensure that your real estate needs are nothing short of a grand slam. The quality service you will receive is Hall of Fame worthy. Put Tony's 41-plus years of experience to work for you. Call or text Tony today at 301-928-1280 for your personal Grand Slam experience. Go Blue Crabs.
Welcome back inside Regency Furniture Stadium, live from the Baynet Press Box. Andrew Bandstra alongside my broadcast partner Stevie Bowen here on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network. 5-6-7 due up for the Blue Crabs. Josh McAdams, a screening line drive to left field, but a better defensive play from Trayvon Robinson, who commits highway robbery with a diving catch.
First off, the contact Josh McAdams made on that ball was some of the best we've seen from him all season. Absolutely ripped that ball. But nice job, as you said, by Robinson. Full extension, able to save the able to save a two-bag from Josh McAdams.
And again, when you're a pitcher and you have a defender behind you who you know is capable of making that caliber of play, you feel much more comfortable on the mound, needless to say. Joe DeLuca now mans the left-handed batter's box. First pitch he sees from Espinal, high and outside, in a welcomed sight here at Regency Furniture Stadium as we see Matt Latos swarming in the Blue Crabs bullpen. 2 quick outs for Southern Maryland, but, you know, Stevie Latos has only pitched in 2 games this year, and it's not because of anything other than the fact that there hasn't been really any save opportunities.
I mean, there really hasn't been a chance for Latos to come in the game at all this season.
He did appear back on June the 4th in a game he really didn't need to appear in, but, you know, you got to give him some work at some point. He also completed his lone save opportunity of the year. 1 inning, no hits, no runs. So presumably Latos in line to come in here in this top of the 7th right after this frame, and it would be a save opportunity. You know, Latos was a integral part to what Southern Maryland did back in 2019, Stevie. He's a guy that, of the Blue Crabs' 52 wins, he appeared or finished 37 of their 52 wins. So, essentially, if Matt Latos pitched, the Blue Crabs were going to win. I mean, it was pretty remarkable what he was able to do.
Essentially just how that works there. He's the kind of guy you bring in still, as you said, years in the MLB, a veteran for a while, still able to shove the ball there on the mound and really close the door in these games.
I mean, he basically just is a suffocating force for any offense that tries to face him, because he's a guy that has such a high level of talent and is truly one of the highest IQ'd baseball players that I've ever had the pleasure to be around. In fact, you know, a story I frequently tell is the one of last year as Zach Collier lifts one to the right side, but likely no problem for the right fielder Caleb Gindel, who gloves it for out number 3. But to finish my thought, there was a time last year I saw Latos helping out one of the hitters. He's a guy that, I mean, he's been a pitcher his whole career. Now, needless to say, he did hit a home run in the MLB, but nonetheless. Let's take it to the top of the 7th. When we return, it just might be Matt Latos on the mound for your Southern Maryland Blue Crabs.
This is Ryan Caparese, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
American Radiology is the clear choice for all of your medical imaging needs. With locations in Charles and Calvert counties, they offer a full range of imaging services. Some of their latest innovations included 3D mammography and wide-open MRIs for our claustrophobic patients. For your convenience, they even offer extended weekday hours and Saturdays. For more information or to schedule an appointment, visit their website at AmericanRadiology.com. 2020 was a year unlike any other for everybody. Quickly, the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs came to the realization that baseball must take a backseat to humanity. Immediately, the Blue Crab staff and all of Crustacean Nation teamed together to provide COVID-19 tests and eventually vaccinations. Southern Maryland's hometown team also hosted food drives, blood drives, backpack drives, toy drives, and so much more, all to help their community. The Blue Crabs couldn't be more thankful.
Southern Maryland on the verge of their first win in over a week. Now, again, we preface that by saying there's been a pair of rainouts as well as a day off in that last week. The Blue Crabs riding a 4-game skid in which they haven't won, which makes way for number 3, the second baseman, Melvin Mercedes. And Stevie, I promised you I would tell you a pretty intriguing story about Melvin Mercedes, and I'm going to bring it out right now.
I'm excited.
But first, we mentioned that Mike Devine, in fact, back out on the mound for his 7th inning of work. Now, the most iconic, in my opinion, of World Series maybe in our lifetime would be what?
Repeat that one more time.
The most iconic World Series in our lifetimes has been what?
I mean, the Cubs-Indians one from 2016.
So
it's the first one that comes to mind.
So that's exactly where I'm going with this. That's
good.
what I wanted.
That was the first one that came to mind to me.
So Melvin Mercedes was actually on the Indians during that series, and it was him in that highly intense final game of the series that hit that final out to the third baseman, Chris Bryant, who threw it across the infield. That was Mercedes in that game.
You know, I have been thinking about, because obviously before the game, you check the rosters, you start to see, this is my first year broadcasting with the Blue Crabs. I'm not used to seeing these like professional guys on these rosters that I've heard of before. I saw his name on the roster, and I could not figure out where I know it from. And I think it's because I've seen that last play of that World Series so many times.
Yeah, it's pretty magnificent to have here in the Atlantic League as Mike Devine strikes him out for out number 1. In fact, Stevie, that World Series was so iconic that the New York Times did a full feature piece on Melvin Mercedes that was titled something to the effect of who was the person that made the last out of that World Series, and it was all about Mercedes. Pretty incredible.
Of course, it's not necessarily something you want to keep
This
talking
is true.
about.
This is true. It's a part of his legacy nonetheless as Matt Latos down in the bullpen fields his position.
No, Andrew, I would not have been surprised if Matt Latos had dove off the mound to try to catch that ball. That's just the kind of guy he is. He's going to try to get a laugh from people, and watching him try to field that ball down the left side was comedy.
Mike Devine has been masterful to this point in the contest here on Calvert County night here at Regency Furniture Stadium. Southern Maryland and its Tri-County area have provided so much for each other over the course of this last year, particularly in a time they really needed to come together. That's exactly what the 3 counties did. And Calvert County night, one of 3 nights we will celebrate the 3 counties. Blackstone comes up and fields a baseball. The throw a little offline. It was a very difficult play to make. Nonetheless, Ladarius Clark make that. Espinal will reach base.
Yeah, a little miscommunication there from Blackstone and McAdams. That ball, of course, no, if it's a little closer to McAdams at third, it is his job to call off Blackstone because he is already heading towards first base. You know, easy for him to make that throw. You know, and it was just a ball that was a little too close as in between. Just unable to each make the play, and it looks like that might be the end of it for Mike Devine.
Yeah, and that's a really wise move by Stan Klybert, not because Mike Devine had been pitching poorly, but rather if you're in a jam or you have a chance to close out this victory, why not bring in the big guns? That's exactly what he'll do. Matt Latos, the MLB veteran, on his way to the mound when we return right here at Regency Furniture Stadium.
This is Austin Glorious, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
Through October of 2021, COVID-19 vaccinations are offered right here at Regency Furniture Stadium. No appointment necessary. Just swing on by and get your COVID-19 vaccination today. Take one for the team, Southern Maryland. Get the vaccine. Dyson Building Center is one of the oldest family-owned and operated hardware, lumber, and building supply stores in southern Maryland. They are located in St. Mary's County on Route 5 in Great Mills. Dyson's has an expansive and diverse inventory to help you with all of your home improvement and project needs. Whether you're new to the world of DIY, a tried and true DIY professional, or somewhere in between, the friendly and experienced staff at Dyson Building Center is ready and willing to help you today.
This is Matt Latos, and you're listening to the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.
The longtime MLB veteran Matt Latos welcomes himself into this top of the seventh inning of action. If you're just joining us, this is the first of two in a doubleheader here at Regency Furniture Stadium this evening in a happily pleased Blue Crabs crowd and dugout to be able to put their MLB veteran closer into this contest to attempt to save this ball game. 3-0 the score. Blue Crabs on top here in this top of the seventh inning. One down. And coming up to the plate is Blake Alamont. Latos, just a couple of opportunities to this point in the season. Can't quite put a bow on Mike Devine's night, but it was fantastic. He went 6 1/3, but is still on the hook for the runner standing at first base. Latos, number 41 on the back of his jersey, lines up on the right side of the rubber, and a blooper to the left side. Jake Lucci, no problem, comes under it, gloves it, out number 2.
That's just what Matt Latos does. Comes on the mound, only a few pitches, and is able to get Blake Alamont to fly out to Lucci. And that's all you really ask for when you bring Matt Latos in the game. Just get these next 3 guys out, and that's what he's best at doing.
Latos, masterful to this point in the season in limited opportunities. 1 for 1 in save opportunities. The MLB veteran right-hander has appeared in 2 games to this point in the season. Not a ton of opportunities for saves, but he's come through when asked of. As his first pitch to Anderson De La Rosa in there, doesn't even care that a runner tries to take second because, in all reality, that runner does not matter.
De La Rosa backed away from that ball, but as you can see a little bit, he's crowding that plate. It was called a strike, but it looked like it almost hit him.
Fastball right back at us, right here in the Bayonet press box.
That made my heart jump a little. I'm not gonna lie. There's a 50-foot net in front of us, but for some reason I thought I was about to get hit with that ball.
I feel like it doesn't really matter how long you sit behind this net. You're always gonna have the reaction.
Exactly.
You can try to fake it off like you don't, but you do. Latos, 2 innings pitched on the year, 1 hit allowed, 2 strikeouts. DeLuca smothers it behind the plate, asks the home plate umpire for a brand new baseball, and is granted that. 2 down here for Matt Latos. The longtime Lancaster Barnstormer Anderson De La Rosa at the plate. A look around the Atlantic League here this evening. Of course, Southern Maryland up 3-0 here at Regency Furniture Stadium. Latos with a splitter that misses in front of the plate for ball number 2. 2-1 the count. Long Island and York playing in York. The Ducks on top of the Revs, 1-0 in the top of the 3rd. Gastonia playing in Lexington, 1-1 the score. In the bottom of the 4th of a doubleheader. High Point and West Virginia in the top of the 1st scoreless. DeLuca kind of shaking his catching hand, or his glove hand, I should say.
Looked like DeLuca called time so Latos can have a second on the mound, but it looked like he called time for himself right after that last pitch when he went down to block it. Like his hand might have gotten caught up in the ground.
The 2-1 from Latos, driven down the third base line.
Andres Brisano sprints out of the way from that one.
Latos now works the count, even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here in the top of the 7th, of course, playing 2 7-inning games here today, so we are on the brink of a Blue Crabs victory. Latos set on the mound, the 2-2, a splitter, fouled to the left side again. And I don't believe you at home were able to see the Blue Crabs bullpen, but it looked for a second as if they weren't going to flinch on that foul ball, but
they did.
To my chagrin, they did.
You know who's a guy that makes me laugh a lot is Carlos Diaz.
Me too.
He is a hilarious human being.
Latos on the mound with the 2-2. Save opportunity in his grasp, and another splitter misses just ahead of that plate. And, you know, the splitter is, in my opinion, undeniably, undisputably the most difficult pitch to place as a pitcher. I mean, it is unbelievably hard to place.
It really is. It's the pitch that just kind of sits right there in the middle of the strike zone and then drops. But if you throw just a little bit too much on that ball, you can do what Matt Latos did, is he just spikes it into the ground.
Payoff pitch on its way from Latos. Chopper to the left side. Blackstone gobbles, fires across the infield. Out number 3. A Blue Crabs victory right here on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network. Stevie, the date, June 12th. It has been since June 4th since the Blue Crabs have won. We'll take what we can get. Southern Maryland wins this one by a score of 3-0. A shutout victory between Mike Devine and Matt Latos. Generally, Stevie and I would stay on and chat with you about the contest, but we've got things to do. We got to get ready for the next game, so we will sign off rather quickly and be right back in 30 minutes with Game 2 of this twin bill right here on the Hometown Real Estate Broadcast Network.